Enjoy the show.
One of the game shows.
Wow.
The Price is Right.
Sick, you know, tracks the feet. I think it said it started doing. Good evening. I think we'll wait a few more minutes to see if anybody else is on the way. I hate to start without everybody being here. I hope everybody's got their voter ID card registered down in front here with the ballot clerks. And we'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll get started.
Yeah. The last name starts with a W. Wait or
That's something that has kids.
yeah,
It's always
there's
talking to
4.
Catherine. Sure, it's fine. Your call.
It is kind of a small crowd.
Yeah, she's really supportive.
First one.
I don't think it's doing much looking at this group.
So, what if he's going to school people?
He'll go, but he'll be drowned out by Bill Hall.
I'm wondering if the woman who's running against Kenyon is going to show up this week.
I'm wondering, yeah.
Have you talked to her?
I don't know.
I was asking her. She doesn't
Who's?
know her.
Where?
Right there.
Which one?
Yeah, because I was hoping that she would.
Really?
That's Lauren.
Oh, Todd Sullivan.
Todd Sullivan. Oh.
I always thought Todd.
Yeah,
Have you met Todd's wife?
No.
I met
we'll have some excitement for that candidates night. There'll be 3 people there.
Yeah, but I don't want any changes.
Yeah, me either.
I like things.
It's Marty.
I do too.
AD, UNHAD with the number 6 like that. It's Sid's.
It's like
Yeah, we are in a group. Which makes me question my sanity if I like going in.
Tony.
Into someone that's really not in a group, you know.
I think we're at 25.
And you count? You didn't count our people.
No.
Tuitions.
Oh, yeah. Sends for safety reasons. Because you have to correct. Flag. Oh,
It's like a man.
Todd. Todd. Is it portable? Can you bring it in?
It's usually sitting right in that corner.
Oh, here we go. Todd, we're all set.
All right.
Todd. All set.
I don't know if you could go like this, maybe.
No, you're going to hold.
Oh, I am?
Sure you are.
Really? Okay, all right. You want, you joke?
No. Good evening, everyone. I guess we'll get started. Introduce myself. I'm Richard Lawton. I live in Durham with my family. I have for many years. Our kids are 4th generation on the same land. Very lucky to be here tonight. Very lucky to be in this town in the school district, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to run the meeting. If you would join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first work of the evening is we're going to present a Distinguished Service Award, and Denise Day is going to present it.
Good evening, everyone. This year's Distinguished Service Award goes to Sid Scarano. Sid earned this award by consistently bringing intelligence and humor to each task at hand and for always having the interest of the children and the district as a guideline for her behavior. Sid has been an involved Madbury parent whose 3 children have successfully completed their schooling at Oyster River. She spent hundreds of hours working with the children as a volunteer, was an acting participant in the Moheramet Sugaring Project for over 10 years, and also helped out many times as a substitute teacher. Her numerous activities as a volunteer throughout the years spurred her interest in becoming a teacher. Sid worked closely with past SAU administration by co-authoring a field guide for the Moheramet Nature Trail. This entailed researching information, allowing the creating of 30 learning stations along the trail. Sid became Moheramet's first green team leader, working alongside our facilities director, Jim Rosicki, on many of the projects related to energy conservation, and is now working as a volunteer by consulting with the new green team leader at Moheramet. In addition to her volunteering, Sid's love for soccer was also shared with the children of Oyster River. Sid was an All-American soccer player on the 1980 National Championship team at Cortland State and went on to coach college programs at Wells and Colgate. Using this expertise and her love for the game, she coached numerous youth teams from U6 to U14 boys and girls for the Oyster River Youth Association, and also spent 8 seasons as an assistant coach at Oyster River High School. In 2015, Sid was named the Division II Coach of the Year by the New Hampshire Soccer Coaches Association. She summed it up best when she said, "I've done a lot of professional things, but I always come back to teaching and coaching." We would like to express our appreciation to Sid for her many years of dedication and service to the children of the Oyster River Cooperative School District.
In 2000, my husband and my 3 children and I moved to University of New Hampshire, from Colorado Springs, where we were for 5 years. And before that, we were in central New York. So we got to New Hampshire, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And one of the first things I did was throw my resume on Dennis Harrington's desk. And on that resume was a very mixed blend of skills. He found a former collegiate soccer player and coach, a former environmental attorney with an undergraduate degree in nature interpretation, a mother of 3, kindergartner, 2nd grader, and 5th grader, all going into the Oyster River School District, and a wife of an athletic director, among other things. So I looked at him and I said, "So Dennis, what would you do with someone like me?" And inwardly, I was thinking, what can I ever do here in New Hampshire to keep me professionally stimulated and give me an opportunity to pursue all my passions? And the rest, as Denise so well said, is history. So I have a very special thanks to Dennis Harrington and our administrative leaders in this school district for their wisdom and courage to appreciate outdoor education and classrooms without walls. I also have a special thanks to the high school athletic program for the opportunity to be able to coach for Oyster River since 2007 through up until last fall. My finest and proudest memories of the district, and I'm sure there will still be more, was being able to work with Dennis Harrington at Moheramet on the maple sugaring project. When I first began with the project, there was 2 teachers at the school doing the boiling. By the time I got done with my internship at Moheramet and entered into my full classroom teaching years, we had every single teacher at Moheramet with a classroom set of 5 or 6 trees, all tapping trees and being part of the maple sugaring project. And as some of you know, last year we were able to extend field trips to Mast Way so they could come and enjoy part of that. And I think that is just something I am the most proudest of in all my work with the district. And of course, everybody knows my love and passion for coaching. And in 2007, the first year I joined the coaching staff, my oldest daughter, Lyndon, was a senior on the team. We won the state championship. And that was one of my proudest and finest moments of coaching in all my years, whether a player or a coach. So I'm very, very honored to receive this award. But ironically, it is I who feel like I should be thanking Oyster River and all of you for all that you have done for me and my family. Thank you very much.
We will begin with the work of the evening. First, I'd like to explain the rules that we've gone by for as long as I can remember. We try to follow Robert's Rules of Order as best we can. Most of the time we do. Everybody gets to speak once on a subject. Before speaking again on the same subject, we'd like to, if anybody else is in line, we'd like everybody to have a chance to speak once before anybody speaks twice. We'd like to keep it to around 5 minutes, although I don't really have a stopwatch. My secretary here probably does if we need to. And as always, everybody's always been courteous. We've never had any issues here. Hopefully everybody has their voter ID card so that when I call for the motions and the second and whether the warrant article passes or not, the work of the evening is to read the warrant articles, amend the warrant articles if any amendments are so desired. First, I'd like to read the certification of posting of the MS-26. It reads, I certify that on January 22nd, 2016, I posted the MS-26, the default budget, and the written warrant attested by the school board of the Oyster River Cooperative School Districts in the town of Durham at the Oyster River High School, the place of meeting in the town of Lee at Massway School, and in the town of Madbury at Moheramet School. It is signed by Wendy DeFuscio, and it is notarized, and everything is in order. So now we will start with our work of the evening, the school warrant. I will read the warrant, and then we'll start on the articles. 2006, Oyster River Cooperative School District, State of New Hampshire, 2016 school warrant. To the inhabitants of the Oyster River Cooperative School District of the towns of Durham, Lee, and Madbury, qualified to vote upon district affairs. You are hereby notified to meet at the Oyster River High School in said district on the 3rd day of February 2016 at 7 o'clock in the evening for Session 1 of the annual school district meeting for the discussions of Articles 3 through 8 and for any amendments thereto. Warrant articles whose wording is prescribed by law shall not be amended, and no warrant article shall be amended to eliminate the subject matter of the article at Session 1. The official ballot voting for the school district officers, Articles 1 and 2, and on Articles 3 through 8 will occur at the town polling places on Tuesday, March 8th, 2016. And those places and times are as the town of Durham, the Oyster River High School, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., town of Lee, the Lee Safety Complex, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., town of Madbury, the Madbury Town Hall, 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Article 1 will be to choose a moderator for the coming year. Article 2 is to choose 2 at-large school board members for the ensuing 3 years. Article 3 will be presented by Alan Howland.
And how do I move it to the next slide? Just push it over. Oops. Is that working? Okay. Shall the district raise and appropriate the sum of $1.9 million for the renovation and construction of the athletic fields and a track at the Oyster River High School, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $1.5 million of bonds or notes to be paid over a 10-year period in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA Chapter 33, with $400,000 to come from the June 30th unassigned fund balance available July 1st, 2016, and/or Facilities Development Capital Reserve Expendable Trust Fund, and to authorize the school board to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes. Furthermore, to raise and appropriate the sum of $22,419 for the first year's principal and interest payment. The school board recommends this appropriation, a 3/5 ballot vote required. I'd like to move the article.
Is there a second? Second. Is a second? Okay, now explanation and discussion.
The explanation. I think a good place to start is what the proposal actually is. And the first part of it, I've kind of broken it down into 3 pieces. The first part is an all-weather track, and it's kind of amazing when you think about the history of Oyster River running. We've had just recently a 2-time Runner of the Year. There's a growing middle school running program. And yet, with all that history, we don't have anywhere for them to train. And so the first part of the proposal is to develop this all-weather track that could be used by the middle school, the high school, and the community. Also, it allows for us to expand our PE programs with a safe playing surface. It saves the district $4,000 a year because we have to use UNH's facilities and we would have it on site. It also provides a great chance for community members to come and use it rather than walking on the streets. The next part of it is an artificial turf field, and if you look at the center part in the inside of the track, that's where the artificial turf field would go. And the big thing is it provides a consistent, safe surface year-round. Normally, if you want to use grass fields, you have to have a large number of grass fields. And that allows some of them to be rested and some of them to play. And unfortunately, we have a very small footprint, and therefore we're continuously using the same fields. And it leads them to degrade over the year. And as a result, the surface is less than ideal. By putting in the artificial turf, it's really meant to handle that kind of overuse. And it allows us to fix the drainage problem that causes us not to be able to use it till mid-May. And it also allows us not to have this period where we have to close the fields for the grass to grow. It provides $3,000 savings because, again, we don't have to rent the turf fields from UNH. And it provides a potential revenue source as we can rent out the fields when we're not using them. The third part of the proposal is to reconfigure the baseball and the softball fields. And if you look to the right of the oval, those are the baseball and softball fields. And here again, it's a safety issue. It's trying to improve the drainage and make the fields level. It's trying to fix the traffic pattern so that fly balls aren't going into play of other sports or hitting spectators. And it really, coupled with the artificial turf field, allows us to not overuse the rest of our fields and maximize the period of time that we can grow grass. And the final part, if you look at the rectangles in there, is just to actually orientate the fields, the practice fields, so they get the most grass. And so to kind of sum up the project as a whole, it really is, as you can see, a comprehensive program that works to improve safety and to improve accessibility to all the students. Okay, so you may be having a sense of deja vu and saying, I think I heard this proposal before. And you did last year. But after the proposal didn't pass, we didn't just stop and say, okay, we'll just bring it forward again. We said, okay, how can we make this project better? And we're really blessed in Oyster River to have tremendous intelligence and expertise in a wide variety of fields that have a willingness to volunteer. And so an ad hoc committee was formed to look at that very issue. And one of the primary issues they looked at was the fill of that artificial turf. And I don't have a slide of this, but if you stick your hand up, your fingers would be the blades of grass, and the space between your fingers is where the fill goes in to hold those blades of grass up. In the previous proposal, it was to use recycled tires, which is known as crumb rubber, to fill those spaces. And the problem with crumb rubber is that you don't really know what went in those tires. So it's led to questions whether it's a safe, health safety issue as well as an environmental issue. And so the thought was, can we get the same kind of playability that crumb rubber offers, but remove those risks? And so the committee worked long and hard looking at the alternatives. They went and visited other fields, and they came up with a product known as EPDM, which is a rubber product that you know exactly what's going into it, and it's really meant to be used in these artificial turfs. So it provides exactly what we were looking for, the playability, but removes the risks that we wanted to alleviate. The second thing that the project, or the second major change is that we've reduced the cost of the bonding from $1.7 million down to $1.5 million. So how do we pay for this? The total cost is $2.2 million. Of that, $300,000 has already been raised by a fundraising effort by Friends of Oyster River Track. We also are going to use $400,000 from a lawsuit settlement with our health insurance. That gave us a premium holiday, and then that money, that $400,000, could be used for the track. And then finally is the bond that we're asking voters to approve, which is the $1.5 million. What is the cost breakdown of this? You can see on the first column, it's the year. The next is the cost of that year. And then the three things, the 1 cent, the 2 cents, and the 2 cents, that is the cost to taxpayers of Durham, Lee, and Madbury. So you can see it's a relatively minor ask in terms of tax increase for what we're really doing in terms of a comprehensive project that will affect both the middle school and the high school. And then the final part I came up with is, why do we really need this project, and why do we keep coming forward? There's been people literally for 2 decades who have been working on trying to get this to come forward. And to start with, Oyster River is really unique in that 72% of the high school kids are actually participating in athletics, and 50% of the middle schoolers are participating in athletics. That's really, really high for a public school. And if you know, people have always said, well, wait a second, let's just focus on academics, let's not really worry about these athletics. But when you really look at how students are doing, you can see that Oyster River students that are participating in athletics have a 3.44 GPA. Those that don't have a 3.24 GPA. So students that are engaging in athletics tend to be more engaged students, and that carries over to the academic area. And then I don't think anybody has not picked up a paper or listened to the news in New Hampshire and heard about the rise of heroin and opioid addiction in our state. And participation in athletics and extracurricular activities has been found to be a help to lower the risk of use of alcohol and drugs. And the list goes on, of course. The field closures would be eliminated. It really increases the access that kids have to use those fields. We're very lucky this year it's been warm, but if the snow is used for a long period of time, then we can't really use the fields till mid-May, or till mid-April. I put down here also that there's 56% of you voted for it last year, so that provided us with incentive to not only bring it back, but as I said, try to improve the project. And it's been supported by the Durham Parks and Recreational and ORY directors. And to sum all that up, in my mind, for the last 14 years, I kept hearing about something that people have talked about as the Oyster River Way, when they talk about how our school kids do. And I think I finally have figured out what it is, and that is, it's a strong commitment to community service, it's academic excellence, and it's engagement in extracurricular activities. Those three things together form a really rounded student, and it's been shown that's why we're so successful going forward. This high participation of kids doing this is a key to their success, but in order to keep that high participation of kids, we need to fix the fields.
Is there any discussion on Warrant Article 3 as presented? Please come down and use the microphone, identify yourself and the town that you live in.
Well, congratulations, Al Holland. You came, William Hall, Durham. You've come the closest to leaving me speechless. I've been watching this go on for a long time, and I feel very badly that it's gone on as long as it has. And the one thing you left out of your presentation is the new work on the fields will deal with stormwater and stormwater runoff. Plus, we won't have to use a lot of the chemicals that we use now, even though they're doing it as sparingly as they can. This is the most environmentally friendly approach to Beards Creek. The part I really wanted to talk about is, I talked to a parent this afternoon, and he said he has 2 stepchildren, and they spend all the time playing with their electronic gadgets on the couch. They asked him to build a basketball hoop. He did, and he got rid of it a year later because they didn't use it. Very disappointing. So my idea is to get as many people outside as you can and away from in-house temptations and manifestations. I heard a very good story the other day from a parent who said the kids go door to door in his neighborhood, all playing together at different houses, and then at Madbury, when the ball field is active, they all go over there and have a wonderful time. And what I've observed over there is as many as 400 kids in an afternoon, and many of their parents. And so what you have is a terrific buy-in from the parents to that athletic program at the fields that is all middle school kids. And I want to see those kids focused on going to high school, having a wonderful athletic facility right out the back door of their high school, and take the buy-in from all those parents at the same time so that they'll be over there with the games, taking an interest in their kids, whatever you can do. And I just feel we've got to get the kids out for as much exercise as you can possibly do. When I was going to school in Cambridge, I used to run 2 miles every day, swim a mile in the pool every afternoon, and I felt that I was a lightweight. But it's so important to get them out and give them good exercise, and this will involve, hopefully, a larger part of the student body and bring a focus to kids that are more interested in school, and it'll make the kids that aren't in track, maybe they do violin or ballet, they'll be in school with kids that are more productive to be with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Lutton.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Your name and the town you live in, please.
This, Robert Barth, Lee, this should take just a little over 3 minutes. This is to express my strong support for upcoming Oyster River School District Warrant Article 3. Although strongly in favor of reconfiguration of the Oyster River High School athletic field last year, I spoke out against Article 3 because of the proposed use of tire crumb rubber as infill for the artificial turf field. Although not scientifically proven, a question has arisen over the possible carcinogenesis of tire crumb in a subset of athletes, soccer goalies, with tire crumb home fields. And I thought it best to err on the side of safety pending scientific study of the question. An epidemiologic study has been initiated, but results will probably not be available for 2 to 3 years, and even then may not be conclusive. Last March, the article narrowly failed, and subsequently I became a member of an ad hoc committee appointed by the school board to come up with a new proposal, and specifically to examine the several safe infill alternatives to tire crumb. Over the past spring and summer, several committee members, including Corey Parker, Kevin Gardner, Ben Jeans, and myself, considered 3 alternatives to tire crumb: EPDM, TPE, and coconut fiber, spoke with vendors, visited playing fields, coaches and athletic directors utilizing them. Unanimously, our committee recommended to the school board EPDM, the choice of several schools and municipalities, as well as countries such as Sweden, which have opted for safe, non-toxic alternatives to tire crumb. It yields a cooler, non-flammable, cleaner playing surface of comparable playability and durability compared with tire crumb at a slightly higher price. The school board approved the choice. I speak as an individual, not on behalf of the ad hoc committee, when I say that I totally support the project as now proposed and hope that the voters of OR School District will do likewise. For me, the question of safety is a major factor in my decision. Due to severe spatial limitations, the present field configuration is a serious accident waiting to happen, with runners working out in hallways and roads at dusk and outfields overlapping other playing surfaces. Parenthetically, in elementary school, I once was playing a shared outfield when, upon hearing the crack of a bat behind me, I turned around to receive a home run in the eye, which by millimeters missed blowing out my orbit. Subsequently, as a radiologist, I saw numerous similar injuries. An artificial multi-sport turf field allowing continuous back-to-back use without deterioration, surrounded by an all-weather track, along with reconfiguration of the grass playing field, will greatly reduce the safety hazards in severely limited space we have to utilize. We simply do not have the acreage to lay out enough natural turf playing fields to accommodate safely the number of sports and participants with which we are dealing. Thousands of dollars currently paid annually to UNH for use of their facilities will be saved. The environmental impact will be minimal and most likely positive, particularly as in reconfiguring, we transition to improved drainage and a more organic maintenance of our grassed areas, a goal everyone is on board to achieve. The track and artificial field will also be utilized by middle school and ORYA, as well as by residents as a walking, jogging exercise facility. I urge voters to seriously consider and support this article. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on Warrant Article 3 as presented?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I think this project is really well thought out, and it's...
Excuse me, name and town.
Robert Sullivan in Durham.
Thank you.
I've got kids in the middle school and at the high school, and I think this project is a really well thought out project. It's not full of extras. It's an essential need that we're meeting here. About 30 years ago, there was maybe around 130 athletes on these fields. Today, there's 500 plus. And we've never invested in the fields in a significant way. This new field will grow our facilities just like the programs have grown. It's going to enhance the curriculum. Track is a hugely popular program at the middle school. When those kids currently travel to Dover every day, so this facility will also support things like getting our kids home on time for dinner, getting them a good night's sleep, things that other parts of our curriculum we're trying to enhance. And finally, this supports buy local principles. Right now, we are shipping around $7,000 a year out of our community to other fields. We're sending kids to Portsmouth in the spring. If we approve this field, it will be ready in October. You could be playing on this field in wet, rainy days like today next spring, and we won't have to wait till May. So I really support it, and there's a lot of your neighbors who support it as well. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. The town and your name, sir.
David Taylor from Durham. I would like to also say that I really support this project. I served on the board for 12 years, several years ago, and this project has been on our radar for probably 2 decades. We have tried every possible configuration, on-site, off-site. We've looked close, we've looked far. There have been several bonds that have been floated. We just need to approve this and get forward. Our kids really need this, they really have. So great job, guys, thanks.
Thank you.
Kevin Gardner from Durham. So I just wanted to add, not to repeat what Rob and some other people had to say that I agree with wholeheartedly. And I just want to pick on one word that Al used in his really good presentation, and that's the term extracurricular. And I would suggest that, and it may be splitting hairs, but I think co-curricular is a more apt definition. And he provided those statistics here of higher GPA for student athletes, and those kind of benefits, the kind of health, the benefits of a healthy body for your brain is a subject of hundreds and hundreds of research articles, and it's pretty well established as far as I know. I think probably you guys on the board know better than I do. But from what I've seen, in fact, there was a really good article in the New York Times by this woman who was writing, and she was a typical kind of cerebral person, and who said she just focused on her studies all the time until she finally was writing this article and learned she could get a lot smarter if she took care of her body as well as her sharpening her intellect. So I think it is really important for the academic mission of the school to have these types of facilities, and I think it's totally like blows my mind, and I haven't been here as long as many people have, that we still have the facilities that we have. It's just astounding. So I'm strongly supporting this for the benefit of students' minds, because I always say healthy body, healthy mind, which is my simplistic way of phrasing that.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. It isn't only the direct costs of what it costs to rent fields, it's also the cost of the transportation and the time that the kids are taken away. It would be far better to just skip the transportation, the exhaust fumes and the bus wear and tear, and just put them to work in their own backyard. Last summer, I talked to a lady that was working at the concession stand at the ball field, and I asked, what's the story on the field? Why didn't it pass? And she said people come up to her and they don't believe that it didn't pass. And the next question is, well, did you vote? Well, no. So the message I want to leave you with is, please reach out to as many people as you can and have them come and vote. There are a lot of people that just look at this as an expense. It only involves the high school. There are people that will vote against most anything, just the way some of our school bonds failed by a 2-to-1 vote years ago. So all I can say is that look for candidates to vote that are willing to go in and show up on voting day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No further discussion on Warrant Article 3. All those who support Warrant Article 3 as written, please raise your voter cards. Those who oppose, Warrant Article 3 is accepted as written. Warrant Article 4 will be presented by Dan Klein.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Klein. I'll start by reading Warrant Article 4. Reads as follows. Shall the district vote to approve within the provisions of New Hampshire RSA 273-A:3 the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Oyster River Educational Support Personnel Association and the Oyster River School Board, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels. 2016 to 17, $38,937. 2017 to 18, $42,332. 2018 to 19, $45,638. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $38,937 for the 2016-17 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increases in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation, majority vote required. I'd like to move Warrant Article 4.
Warrant Article 4 has been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Okay, so changes associated with Warrant Article 4 from last contract to this contract. So it affects the Oyster River Educational Support Personnel, known as ORCSD, which covers Oyster River custodians and secretaries. It is a negotiated, three-year contract negotiated between the Oyster River Cooperative School District School Board and ORCSD. As mentioned, salary increases are broken out in years 1, 2, and 3 as follows. Year 1, $38,937. Year 2, $42,332. Year 3, $45,638. Other features, longevity pay is increased with this new contract. Benefits changes. Instead of a 30% of overall cost health buyout for those that elect not to choose health coverage, this is a fixed health buyout, which adds some cost certainty for the district. It increases the retirement payout for unused sick days from $20 in the previous contract to $50 in the new contract. And it adds a matching tax-sheltered annuity, known by most of us as a retirement plan, which has a $300 per year match for participants and a $500 year match for years 2 and 3.
You've heard Warrant Article 4. Is there any discussion on Warrant Article 4 as presented? I don't see any. All those in favor of Warrant Article 4 as presented, please signify by raising your card. Those opposed? Warrant Article 4 is accepted as presented. Warrant Article 5 will be presented by Kenneth Rotner.
Hi, I'm Kenny Rotner, and I just wanted to observe how appreciated it is that people came out tonight and point out how lucky we all are that our phones are not ringing incessantly in our ears if we were home. So besides participating in democracy, we get that reprieve. But reading Article 5, shall the district authorize the school board to sell the 24.97 acre lot So I'll start again. Shall the district authorize the school board to sell the 24.97 acre lot on Orchard Drive in Durham on such terms and conditions as the school board determines are in the best interests of the district, and further to raise and appropriate up to $500,000 from the sale of this property to be placed into the Facilities Development Capital Reserve Fund. The school board recommends this appropriation and majority vote is required, and I move Article 5.
Warrant Article 5 is moved. Is there a second? There's a second. Discussion?
Warrant Article 5 requests the voters to approve the sale of 2 vacant residential parcels of land that total 24.97 acres, and they're located off of Orchard Drive in Durham. This property was originally given to the school district for possible future use. The property has been surveyed to determine the viability of using it for future buildings or even for fields. What was found is that 17 acres of the combined area of the parcels are constrained by natural resources, including wetlands and watercourses, and this leaves only 8 acres for potential residential use or other use for building. As a result of our environmental study, the school board has determined that these parcels are not suitable for any school district purpose. By placing this money in the Facilities Capital Reserve Fund, it allows the district to use this income to address unmet capital needs. Thank you.
You've heard Warrant Article 5. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on Warrant Article 5?
John Parsons, Durham. Just to say up front, I'm in a butter to this property. I live on Stevens Way in Durham. And I'm not going to speak for it or against it. I just have a question. Unless I remember incorrectly or I'm hallucinating, we authorized the school board to do this about 8 years ago, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So I'm wondering why there needs to be another vote on it.
We'll get you an answer. We'll get you an answer.
I believe the correct answer, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, is part of this is it's directing the funds to a certain place, which allows it to have the uses that is designated. So it's more than just the selling, it's also the usage from the funds.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Selig from Durham, and just a quick question. Has the parcel been appraised by someone at this value? There wasn't anything in anything I looked up that gave a valuation of the property, and if, as I read, seemed to indicate most of it is unbuildable, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand the true value.
And again, I hope I get the answer right. But when we originally saw the breadth of the acreage that was there, the hope was that maybe it could be developed into a residential development with many more houses. But we did do an appraisal, and it was based on the appraisal that we have our current value. The number of houses that can be built there are limited. It's a loop road, it's a kind of cul-de-sac, and ordinance prevent the building of more houses in this. And so our appraisal came back, and to some of our kind of disappointment that the value came in only at this, and it's because of those restrictions, but a formal appraisal was done.
Yes, sir.
Dean Rubin Lee, can we clarify, because I vaguely recall the appraisal was 300,000 or 389,000, something.
Thanks for that question, Dean. The appraisal for the property is actually lower, but the reason we put the $500,000 figure in is to make sure that whatever it sold for, we would be able to take the funds in. The appraisal is closer to $300,000, and so if it came in at $350 and the warrant said $300, then we'd be in the same boat we were the last time we approved the warrant. So we used a figure that was a little higher to make sure that whatever the property sold for, it would be able to be captured.
All set. Any further discussion on Warrant Article 5? There being none, although Warrant Article 5 has been moved and seconded, all those in favor? All those opposed? Warrant Article 5 passes as written. Warrant Article 6 will be presented by Sarah Farwell. Or not. I'm sorry.
I'm not Sarah Farwell. I'm Tom Newkirk. I'm here to present Article 6, and I will read it. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate up to $500,000 to be added to the Facilities Development Capital Reserve Fund. Let's see. I'm sorry. There we go. Sorry. I'll start again. To see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate up to $500,000 to be added to the Facilities Development Capital Reserve Fund. This sum to come from the June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2016, no amount to be raised by taxation. The school board recommends this appropriation, majority vote required. So I move Warrant Article 6.
It has been moved. Is there a second? Discussion?
Okay, I'll just go over these points. The Capital Reserve Fund was established in 1999, so it exists, and it needs school board approval to expend. In 2011, the Davis-Goudreau analyzed the capital needs, unmet capital needs of the district, and any of you who remember those meetings, it was a stunning figure of $4.5 million in unmet capital needs. Since then, Jim Rizicki, working with the school board, working with the superintendent, have pretty much cut that amount in half, but there are still $2 million in unmet capital needs, and this warrant would allow us to put some money from the unexpended fund balance toward these capital needs. And currently we only have, as this PowerPoint shows, only 41,000 in that. And I thought I would just give you an idea of some of the things that if we did have money, we could put money into this fund, some of the things that are kind of on the edge of being done now that would be able to move more expeditiously toward them. So there's about 6 that Jim Rizicki has pointed out to me. Not that we could do all of these in 1 year, but these are the kinds of things that are kind of on the cusp right now. Moharmet, a boiler replacement, Moharmet, classroom flooring, middle school plumbing upgrades, middle school backup generator, Mastway replace air handlers, Mastway main office roof, Mastway restroom renovation. None of these are health and safety issues, but they're issues that we have to move forward on, and approval of this warrant will help us move more quickly if we can put funds into that account.
Are there any questions on Warrant Article 6 as presented? Yes, sir.
I'm Dean Rubine from Lee, 1766. It's happy 250th birthday to Lee. And that's the semi-quincentennial, if you're keeping score. My questions are, number 1, can the Article 5 and 6 funds be used to fund the field? 2, are there plans for future Article 6s as a possible path to the field that only requires 50% voter support if the bond fails? And 3, shouldn't the explanation mention the field either way?
Let's try to get them one at a time. So the first question was, can Articles 5 and 6 be used, the monies be used towards the
Capital Reserve Fund money be used
towards the fields?
To build the track?
Yes, the answer to I'm sorry, Dean, I was expecting somebody else to answer. The answer to your question is yes, the Capital Reserve Fund can be used towards the fields if the board makes that determination. It can be used towards the projects that Tom listed as well. So it can be, at the board's discretion, used against that project.
And question 2 was, are there plans for future Article 6s that might lead to a path to the field that only requires 50% voter support?
The school board hasn't discussed future Article 6s, but it follows logic along the lines that you have presented at school board meetings in the past, that if something goes wayward on the fields a warrant, that the board could continue to save towards that effort.
And the third part was, shouldn't the explanation mention the field? Either way.
Hindsight, yes.
Thank you. Any further questions on Article 6 as presented? There being none, all those in favor of Article 6 as presented, signify with your cards. Those opposed? Article 6 is accepted as presented. Article 7 will be presented by Maria Barth.
Hello, I'm Maria Barth, and they saved, I'm going to read from my piece of paper. Oh, now they complicated it for me. When? Okay, I'm going to read from my piece of paper. I thought they saved the easy one for me. Shall the district establish a non-lapsing equipment revolving fund in accordance with RSA 194:3-C to be funded by the sale of unused and outdated equipment for the purpose of providing equipment to students in need. Further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $1, withdrawals from the revolving fund will be made at monthly intervals as needed. The school board recommends this appropriation, and a majority vote is required. So I would move this article.
It has been moved. Is there a second? Seconded. Discussion?
I have the explanation. As I said, this is an easy one. The $1 is needed to establish the fund, and all money, which won't be much, but we need the fund to put the money into, would come from outdated or unused equipment. In order to fund or help, it probably wouldn't fund every need, but it would help students who qualify because of their income level. They would qualify as defined by the free and reduced price lunch program. It is recognized there are currently students in our district who are unable to buy technology, and this fund would help. And we have capped the fund to $2,000. And if we raise that much money from old equipment, I'll be surprised.
There is any discussion on Warrant Article 7? We're all set. There being none, those who will accept Warrant Article 7 as proposed signify by raising your card. Those opposed, Warrant Article 7 is accepted as proposed. Warrant Article 8 will be presented by Thomas Newkirk.
Okay, I'll begin by reading. Shall the district raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein, totaling $42,303,815. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $40,892,769, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numeral 10 and Roman numeral 16 to take up the issue of revising the revised operating budget only. The school board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote required. Note, Fund 10 equals $40,950,403 regular operating budget. Fund 21, $671,412 expenditures from food service revenues. Fund 22, $621,000 expenditures from federal special revenues. Fund 23, $61,000 expenditures from pass-through funds. I'd like to move Warrant Article 8.
Warrant Article 8 is moved, seconded, discussion.
Okay. I will try to unpack this warrant article, and I'll try to do it with as few numbers as I can, because obviously we have incredible amounts of tables and graphs that could relate it to this, but I've tried to reduce it to the numbers to really tell the story of this budget. Okay, we'll start with the school budget goal. The budget goal was that it not exceed 3% inclusive of all warrants. And the proposed budget, if all warrants pass, is 2.9%. So we met our budget goal. But I think when we started out, we said if we could hold the budget to 3% and include all-day kindergarten, that would be an achievement. And we've met that goal. Another way of looking at the budget is to compare the operating budget to the default budget. And this kind of says what would happen if for some reason our budget doesn't pass. And the difference is only $57,634. Now what that says is that we've cut it about as close as we can. That the default budget includes last year's budget plus other negotiated agreements, health insurance costs that have to be carried forward. So there are no new positions, no new major programs except for all-day kindergarten, and so the default budget is virtually the same as the operating budget. That's a measure of how tight, how austere this budget is. I want you just to look at this slide for a second, because this was the huge difficulty we had with this budget. That because of a 21% increase in the health utilization by families and staff members and employees in the district, the health insurance increase was $600,000. That's half of the budget increase. So this was a major difficulty we had in how can we stay within our budget goal at the same time that we had this incredible health insurance increase. So we were able to do that in part by pretty much level funding technology and level funding the facilities budget, by not purchasing a third bus this year, which still leaves us on track for the replacement of the bus replacement. And on this slide that you have before you now, you have the projected increases, the estimated increases to the towns. And when Jim Morse was presenting his budget to the towns, he had estimated in red, and just how approximate this is. There's so many things that can happen that are hard to predict. Towns appropriated property value can go up. Towns may have special funds that they can apply to offset increases. One of the curiosities we had was, why is the percentage increase higher than in each of the towns than the budget increase? The budget increase is 2.9%, and so this increase is higher in all three towns. And the answer to that question, it took us a while to kind of work our way around it, that last year our school district, we passed back $850,000 to the town, a huge amount. Normally you want to pass back about at least around $400,000. We passed back $850,000 because the field warrant was not approved, and we were going to spend some money on the field warrant, then it went back to the town. So that was why our estimates last year were way high, and that really moderated the tax increase in the towns, particularly in Durham. Now this year, we proposed to pass back to the town $650,000. So there's a $200,000 gap there that has to be made up with taxation. And that's the reason that the percentage increases are higher than the budget increase. So fund balance, no? No. So we're passing back less money than we passed back last year, and that causes the taxation rate to be higher. So the percent increase we are estimating are 3.25% in Durham, 3.74% in Lee, and 5.22% in Madbury. The reason Madbury is higher is because of the greater number of students from Madbury that are going to our schools. So percentage-wise, there's growth in Madbury, which has caused was one reason why it's been difficult to balance the population in the schools, because so that is the reason that the Madbury tax rate is higher. So just to sum up then, the accomplishments of this budget, and it was a very tough and difficult process for the board. The budget came in below our budget goal of 3%, actual 2.9%. It accommodates the health increase of 16.8%, the $600,000 extra. It includes all-day kindergarten by repurposing current funds. For example, we found out that by eliminating the extra bus runs for half-day kindergarten, we saved $150,000, which could then be applied to funding all-day kindergarten. That was part of the repurposing that we were able to do. And it allows for a warrant article on athletic fields that asks the voters for $200,000 less than last year and focuses on student safety and uses a safe fill. So this is what we felt we accomplished. It was a tough process, but we feel we came out where we wanted to come out. So thank you.
Any discussion on Warrant Article 8?
A couple of things. I mean, first of all, I want to congratulate the board on an excellent job in a terribly difficult budget season. You guys did an incredible thing this year. Tom, you spoke as if the 16.8%, which I understand we have to budget for, is solid now, because when we first heard about it, it was called a guaranteed maximum, and the actual figure had not yet been passed through.
That's correct. That's correct, but we have to budget for the maximum.
So, but this, we're not necessarily getting a 16.8% increase at this point. We don't know.
No, we don't know.
I like to think of our budget as a 9-slice pizza, where 4 slices come from Durham, 2 from Lee, 1 from Madbury, and 2 from the state. It's an easy, or 2 from the state. It's an easy way to think about it. And so when we raise the budget and the state number doesn't go up, the millages have to go up more than the increase that we say we're doing. And that's at least part of the reason this number is bigger. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Warrant Article 8 as presented? There being none, all those in favor of Warrant Article 8 as presented signify by raising your cards. Those opposed, Warrant Article 8 as presented is accepted. I hope that you don't expect me to do next year what we did this year, because this is pretty much a record for getting out of here, I can tell you that. Just let me read the polling times and places, and I'll ask for, I'm waiting for Mr. Parsons to spring something on me.
No, I'm not going to spring anything. I'm just waiting for you to finish with the thing you have to do.
The official balloting, we'll see what the polls for the school district offices and the articles 1 through 8 will be in the town of Durham at the Oyster River School District, the Oyster River High School, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Town of Lee, at the Lee Safety Complex, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Town of Madbury, Madbury Town Hall, 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Mr. Parsons, I would ask you for whatever you'd like to say, or a motion to close the meeting.
You know what I'm going to say. I move we adjourn.
Is there a second? We are adjourned. Thank you.